Hello, it's Mr. Cure from room 23. We're going to do our hand propeller design. This is the first version, very simple. Looks like the ones you'd get at a birthday party or, you know, some cheapo toy. But it's kind of fun to make and design and change it up. But this one's pretty simple because it needs no supports if we design it this way. And we'll talk about that based on certain settings. You can change the angle of attack here so that the air is getting pushed down differently, and you might need supports, and that's okay. But this is very minimal supports needed and pretty simple. So let's go ahead and hit Control H. We're going to hide that, and then I will show you how to build this. There's a few different ways you can get the shape. You can use Revolve Sketch, which is a little more detailed, so we'll wait for that one for later. We are going to end up using the sketch tool, and then you can use this guy if you want for the center. You kind of stretch it out, a half sphere. Or there's a couple other designs you can use, more shapes. You can use this guy. So just depends on what you want. We'll go ahead and go with well, let's go with this one actually, which is our paraboloid. So for the particular one, well, it's actually, oopsies, Control Z. Oh, darnations. For this particular one, we have just a few shapes. If we ungroup all these, it's actually only 5 shapes. This is the shape we're trying to get, 10 by 10 by 15. Something pretty small. So 10 by 10 by 15. You could make it different, and I'm now realizing I probably stretched out this guy. But this one, let's try a different shape. Okay, but you could make it something different, but you're basically just a spot to connect the two wings here. These guys are going to be, it says extrude, which just basically means it's a sketch. So there's a couple things we can do um, for that. So we come to the sketch tool, we go ahead and throw that down. We're going to make these relatively small, but we could do, so let's do like 5 millimeters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This direction. So it comes back 1, 2, 3, 4 across 5. I'm counting these little dots down here, and then back down 5. Okay, we can come down to here. Let's call it 70, and do something similar on the other side, but we're actually going to go 5 in, but we'll go all the way 10 across to kind of give us this little earmark thingy. And then we'll make it 70 on the way back. We're going to use this tool to select these two, hold shift so you can pick both, and then we're going to round it. So that gives us this rounded tip, which is a little different than the one we have. You could stretch it out, you can make it smaller, bigger, and kind of get that there. Okay, we're going to go ahead and finish our sketch. It's so fat. This is unnecessary. We need to make it 2 millimeters. No, actually, we can go to 1. I think we're going to go to 1. We're going to go to 1 millimeter thick. Okay, we want something small. For this particular one, we want it to be a little wider and maybe a little longer. Let's go with 2 centimeters across. It looks big here, but in real life, 2 centimeters is very small. 20 millimeters is what's showing, so it's rounded up. We can do 100 here, stretch it out. Sure, this should be pretty decent. Okay, so we can use this little center to kind of attach it. Oops. You kind of see here, we're going to just go ahead and duplicate it, which I pressed Control D to duplicate. Then we'll mirror it like this, and then we'll, oops, just grab the wrong one. We'll kind of line these up. We don't want them to be together, but we're going to grab it, hit L, center them. Okay. So most printers will, and the bamboo printers that we use, are going to print around 30-degree angles. 45 might be even easier for the printer, but this is kind of too steep for the propeller. So the wind is going to be, or as you spin it, the air is going to be hitting and going down. We don't want too steep of an angle because it's going to slow it down more than it's going to push the air down. So it's kind of fighting against itself. So you got to kind of find the sweet spot. For the printers, that sweet spot is kind of, let's go this way, is going to be 30 degrees because you can print it without supports. And, oh, all right, come on, buddy. You can print it without supports, press D, so it's on the base plate. But at the same time, you're going to have a good attack angle. So we'll go 30 the opposite direction. So you saw the last one was negative, this one's positive. That's what you want because you want them spinning. Okay, in opposite directions. So as it's spinning, zoom, zoom, the air is going to be hitting and being pushed down and creating lift. You could probably do a smaller attack angle, obviously, if we add supports, but this is a simple one without supports. Before we do this, let's go ahead and group these together so they're one shape. All right. Let's make it white. Okay. So now we can go ahead and center these and center this. And this might need to be just a tiny bit bigger based on where it's at. Oh, sweet baby braid. Okay. Now, 15 by 15. This is probably actually okay. It gives it some inertia, some zoomies, some spins. Okay. Center, we hit L, center. This should work. Kind of give a nice, we look at it from the top. Looks very symmetrical. That's what we want. You don't want like a weird lack of symmetry. So this should be okay. Yeah. So we will go ahead and then we can group that. Okay. Now for the handle. The handle could literally just be a circle. This is actually plenty fine. It's just a little harder to print. So we could do polygon. We could choose the sides. It can be 6-sided. It could be 8-sided. I think for this particular one, I decided to go with 8 sides because then you can lay it nice and flat. So we change the sides to 8. We change the sides to 8. Huzzah. Okay. The problem, yes, this is the problem that happens sometimes, is I want to tilt it down to tip it on its side. So we're going to have to change the angle. Luckily, it's one little chunk, 22.5. Okay, we want this to be a hole for inside here so we can attach it. You can see that. Okay, so we're going to make it smaller. Probably the problem with these polygon shapes is you have to hold, if you don't want to mess up kind of the symmetrical of it, you want to kind of hold shift and shrink it down to the shape. I think with the octagon it's a little easier. With the hexagon it's a little weird because hexagons have kind of this abnormal shape, but I think once you turn it to the right angle, it's just that it's a whole rigmarole with the hexagon. So the octagon is actually easier. Let's go ahead and make the hole. I think we should probably make it at least 10. That feels heavy. Let's go ahead and make it just a hair under. So 8 by 8. 8 by 8 should be fine. Okay, just a hair under the centimeter mark. And then this is only 15 tall, so we're just going to attach it in there, not very deep, so maybe 6 millimeters. Okay, this is going to be, we're going to press H to change it into a hole. Let's hit Control D real quick. I want to duplicate this shape because that's going to also be our handle. Group it. All right. Group. Center. Okay, double check. Looks great. Okay, now we union group one more time. Don't do the bundle, do the group. Okay. Huzzah. Okay, now we have a nice little hole, perfect to attach our handle. The handle, you want it to be long enough that you're not whacking your hands. This one's 150, so that's totally good. All right, so about 15 centimeters is what we have here. Let's hit D so it's on the build plate. And then we will extrude this out to 150. You could do longer technically, but we kind of made this one thicker, so it's actually going to hold it down better. You do want, weirdly enough, a little bit of mass lower than the blades. If you don't have a lot of mass, like if we hollow this out or make it very, very small, it actually makes it very unstable with the center of gravity is too high and it flips over. It's a weird little thing with spinning things where it'll flip over. So you want some kind of inertia, or not inertia, some mass lower down. So this is going to add that lower down mass. We probably could have made it a scotch smaller. You guys can change the drawings, the shape in the middle, all that. But this is the same basic premise for any little hand propeller toy. And this should work just fine. You could throw it on the printer with very minimal supports. You might actually, I mean, this would be no supports. You might have a tiny little brim just to kind of hold this down on the build plate. If you don't want to have a tiny little brim and you have a really nice sticky build plate, you could, in theory, do another little slicey dicey. We take this guy and maybe we just go down to 1 millimeter. Okay, and then we bring this over. And then we stretch her out. Da, 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 da. So then, okay. Then we go ahead and group that. Oopsies, I accidentally grabbed that. It's probably okay though. So now you have a little bit of. Oh, okay. Then we gotta drop it. Shoot, but we grouped the wrong thing. Ungroup. Shoot. Okay. We want to just group these two. Group. Okay, so now you have a what should be flat. So if we drop it, it kind of sits a little bit more on the build plate. You're probably still going to need a brim, but you could kind of hope and pray that this little 2 millimeter section sticks and it can build up from there, and it might actually work without any brim or any supports. We'll check it here in a minute. But that's the basic hand propeller tutorial. Pretty simple, and this is very fun to play with. It's a first fun attempt at the design. That's why we call it version 1. We can adapt, change it, but you are going to need some beefy blades. It's kind of a early problem. Too thin of blades, or trying to make it too thin. Not enough lift, so we have the wrong angles and things like that. So this is kind of the first starter getting in there. It's a good start.